In this tutorial, we're going to add scoring. So we're going to keep track of how many pickups we have collected. So we need to create a variable to keep track of our score. So let's score equals 0. We'll start with 0. So how do we add points? Well, every time we get rid of a pickup, that's when we get a point. So score equals score plus 1. So when I remove the pickup, I will increase the score by 1. And we can check that's happening. So down here in draw, I'm going to add an extra line to remove later, console.log. And what I'm going to log, let's stop doing that, here's the wrong key, is the score. So I open in browser and I load up. And now you see this 0, that's the current score. Now as I move around and I collect pickups, you'll see that that number is increasing, and it kept track and score, and notice that I collected all 10 coins. So what we're going to do now is display that information on the screen. So where are we going to display that? Well, we're going to display that in draw. And it's going to be the last thing that we draw on the screen. So before I handle the sound, I'm going to draw the scoreboard. The reason I'm drawing it last is because I want that on top of everything else. I don't want it to be obscured by anything else. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to fill this box yellow. So I will have a yellow score bar. And it's going to be a rectangle. So how am I going to know where to draw it? Well, there's already some built-in functions here. Screen left and screen top are my X and Y coordinates. It's going to be width I'm not sure if I set that as a variable. I think it's set already in the code somewhere from memory. And it needs to have a height. Now, how high is it going to be? Well, that's going to depend how big the text is. So I can just call some functions to calculate that for me. My height is going to be text ascent plus text descent. Now these are just variables in the P5.js library. They tell you how tall the text is and how high above and below it gets, and they'll just make it big enough. Trust me, it works. The next thing I'm going to do, so if I do that, I'll just show you what that looks like. Okay. So now it's drawn this rectangle here. Okay. Now it's got a black line around it, which I don't really like, but we'll get rid of that eventually. So we're going to next fill with black, because this is the color we're going to write the text in. We will set our text size to 16. And what are we going to write? Well, the text we're going to write is score plus the variable score, and that needs a position. So it's going to be screen left for the horizontal position, and how far from the top of the screen? It's going to be screen top plus text ascent. And I'm going to put in no stroke. No stroke should get rid of the outline. Okay, and there's my score bar. Now it's moving around a little bit. That's because it's trying to track the screen. Now the reason it's not sticking is because I've changed the order of some things in my code. So we're going to fix that right now. So we need to do check input at the very top here. And that should adjust everything quite nicely, I think. It's a bit more sticky. Apart from that, so I'm just going to troubleshoot that and work out what's going on. I think it might be to do with focus camera. Focus camera should be the last thing that we do before we draw everything. There we go. Now the reason you can't hear sound is because I turned it down. So now we have our score located in the right position. So now we have a fairly complete game. We have a player that can move around, that's affected by gravity, a player that can climb ladders, can jump, can touch things, can walk behind things, can die, can pick things up, and interact with objects. So that pretty much concludes our tutorial series. I hope it's been worthwhile, and I look forward to seeing what you can make.